the creators, the alchemy of adversity, awakening your spiritual genius. Dear beloved ones, we join this channel to share a message with you this day. To open your hearts more fully to see the divine opportunities in your way, that may at times seem like obstacles, and yet they present a golden opportunity. We invite you to recognize that through the unity of all things there is nothing separate from all that we collectively are. So when you see something that presents as a bump in the road, or even a significant struggle for your human self to feel strong enough to face, we invite you to stop and pause to invite the realization of what this represents as an opportunity to you. For at the heart of all challenges is the gem of an opportunity. And in this single awareness of taking this step, to pause and ask, you open yourself to the realization that there are significant means to resolve whatever has presented itself in your life. It is not really a question of the size of the matter or the difficulty, for the elements are the same, the components no different despite your perception of the magnitude of a challenge that arises in your life. So, drop your perception of difficulty first. This will allow a removal of any perceived barriers to understanding what is possible to choose in resolution to this problem. Then ask yourself, what is it that uniquely presents itself to me for resolution? What is it that I can do to bring peace and harmony to resolve what has presented in front of me? If I met this challenge with all the resources necessary to bring wholeness to the situation, what would that mean? What if I suspended my belief that it was not possible to solve this? How can I relate differently to understand my soul's choices, to navigate this through to the other side? These very questions invite a cerebral shift in your thinking, a hormonal shift in the body from a stress response to a creative one, and more importantly they open your access to the divine center within you. This allows you to receive the guidance necessary to navigate what is ahead of you. It is with great confidence that we can say this to you, for it is the truth that as you allow yourself to consider the possibilities of growth, expansion, contribution, resolution, or elevation of the situation in front of you, you will be met in those possibilities with support from the spiritual dimension. We know indeed this takes great trust to understand, believe, or fathom how that occurs. But we ask you to suspend your doubts and disbeliefs in order to test our suggestions and guidance to see how it works for you. For in allowing for expansive possibilities, the genius that lies within you is given the space, the faith, and opportunity to explore. And this time in which you live offers a multitude of these opportunities. So, we ask you, rather than be dismissive of what is occurring as only a path of doom and gloom, we ask you to consider, perhaps this is presenting a unique opportunity for me to step forward in leadership, from a place of love and harmony with all that is, to find a better way forward. And this you might say to yourself. Perhaps this is what I have come here for. Perhaps this is why I am living in such tumultuous times. Perhaps I have come to discover my own innate divine capacity to love despite the appearance of separation. Perhaps I have come to hold harmless those who do not understand what they do, seeking only accountability, not judgment. Invite within yourself a fuller expression of the essence of who you are, in all your innate brilliance, to meet the challenges at hand. Invite yourself to have a journey, like you could have in no other time and place. So, please do not fall into discouragement. We offer you this. Allow yourself to explore this possibility, these questions, this approach, before you turn away, and resign yourself to letting the old ways reside in your society. It is not necessary. This is the golden age of change, and yet you are invited to be the change agent in your own life. We are the creators. We offer you our love and assistance always. Am I, and is everyone around me, a narcissist? How do we know if we or someone in our lives is a narcissist? And then what do we do about it? Narcissism is a personality trait that everyone has to one degree or another. It's defined by self-focus and is named after Narcissus, a beautiful young man who, the Greek myth tells, fell in love with his image in a still pond and stayed there so long he melted away, becoming the flower that now bears his name. In an era of social media, selfies, and constant documentation, some people worry that we are all becoming narcissists. In addition, people talk about narcissism a lot on social media, and it's starting to feel like anyone that's ever hurt us must be a narcissist. But is any of that true? How do we know if we or someone in our lives is a narcissist? And then what do we do about it? What narcissism is and is not primarily. Narcissism is a normal personality trait centered around self-love and self-focus. Healthy self-esteem requires a little narcissism. It's helpful to believe we are good people capable of good things. We are all the main characters in our lives. Adaptive narcissism can sometimes help us walk away from difficult situations with the belief and hope that we can be and do more with our lives. Narcissism becomes maladaptive when it becomes self-obsessive, especially at the expense of our connection with reality and the feelings of the people around us. Narcissism exists on a spectrum, with most people falling somewhere in the middle. Narcissistic personality disorder, NPD, is the most extreme end of the spectrum and is characterized by a constant need for praise and recognition, a lack of empathy, a tendency to only see others as characters in the story of the person with NPD, not full humans with their own needs and feelings, a grandiose sense of oneself that doesn't really fit with reality, a tendency to lie or manipulate to get what one wants and to maintain the grandiose illusion. This extreme version of narcissism is quite rare, only affecting about 1% of the population. Despite fears that narcissism is growing with the advent of social media, this number has not changed in recent years. Social media is not causing NPD. Having narcissistic traits versus being a true narcissist. In part because NPD is relatively rare, it's important to consider someone as having narcissistic traits rather than being a narcissist. When we label someone as a narcissist, we will tend to see them as only that, not a full human being with needs and feelings, just as they might do to us. We must be careful not to let the label get in the way of the human being behind it. On the other hand, if you are dealing with someone who has NPD, it actually might be best and safest for you to see them that way. NPD can make it extremely difficult to have a healthy relationship. If you are living with someone who cannot recognize your needs, tends to live in a fantasy world, and has no empathy for you, seeing them as a true narcissist might help you to get out of the relationship and protect yourself and your feelings. People who are higher on the narcissism spectrum are often really charming at first and will draw people toward them. It's only much later that we tend to recognize this as the manipulation it was. Especially if we discover that person has no genuine care for us but is merely using us to inflate their ego. We may be more vulnerable to people like this if we didn't grow up with models of healthy relationships. Healthy, intimate relationships should involve some give and take, and plenty of empathy on both sides. Loving relationships involve work to ensure everyone's needs are met, not just one at the cost of the other. While conflict is a normal and healthy aspect of a relationship, conflicts ideally resolve around a negotiation of everyone's needs and desires. If we grew up in a house where conflict always meant danger, or was never resolved, or where only one person's needs would ever get met at the cost of everyone else's, it can be hard to recognize when we are not in a healthy relationship. Am I a narcissist? If you're curious about where you land on the narcissism spectrum, you can take a test here. Due to the nature of NPD, it can be hard for someone with NPD to accept that they have it. However, if you're worried about being a narcissist because you care about the people around you and want to be someone that is able to have conversations and negotiations regarding needs, you're probably not a narcissist. The irony about NPD is that it's a pretty miserable way to live. From the outside, it looks like someone is perfect, has everything they need, and is completely in control. But there's often a deep anxiety underlying the narcissism, and it's frequently traced back to childhood abuse or neglect. It's a coping mechanism, essentially, for having a very deeply dark view of oneself, a padding of fantasy to protect from the pain of reality. Self-awareness might be the hardest part for someone with NPD, to arrive at if you're willing to consider that you might have it, and want to work on it. Therapy can help, especially with someone who specializes in NPD. What to do when dealing with a narcissist? Most of the people who show up to therapy to talk about narcissism are not the narcissists, but those who live with them. One strategy for managing someone in your life with narcissism is to let go of that term altogether. It's not worth the energy to spend trying to diagnose whether or not someone is a narcissist. If they are, it will likely be very difficult for them to see it, and the nature of the disorder tends to prevent them from getting help. Telling someone they are a narcissist likely won't get you anywhere. Rather, focus on yourself and the general health of your relationship. Where are you with your boundaries and getting your needs met? Can you have constructive conversations with this person to ensure everyone's needs get met? If you tiptoe around this person's ego, is that because of your fears of conflict or because of a genuine safety concern? If you discover that this relationship is unhealthy and there is no movement within that, no willingness to work on it from your partner's side, it's probably a good idea to leave the relationship, whether the other person is narcissistic or not. Boundaries are important in any relationship, but they can be trickier than they seem. In some cases, trying to set a boundary with someone who has NPD can make it worse for you. It can be a way of essentially telling them how they can hurt you. In these, and really all types of relationships, it might be more valuable to think about boundaries with yourself. Rather than telling a potential narcissist where your lines are drawn, think about your choices in certain scenarios. Will you turn your phone off after a certain time of day? Practice saying no when they want to see you. Find ways to get your own needs met rather than waiting around for them to do it. This type of internal boundary practice can be incredibly valuable in all your relationships, not just this one. Narcissism is a common part of human nature and can be anything from beneficial to detrimental. Social media doesn't appear to be making it worse, but that doesn't mean you can't set a boundary with yourself about how and when you're using it if you find it's exacerbating your anxiety. Archangel Michael, Healing Times. I am Michael and I love you. In times of distress, turmoil on the political arena around the world, there are healing times if you are willing to embrace yourself completely. The healing time comes from you. The healing time comes from your heart that is so beloved. Within you everything is possible. Peace, love, patience, faith, hope, compassion, gratitude, creativity, beautiful and loving manifestation. If you have a war inside of you, how will the outside be? Can there be peace on the outside then? Now it is high time to work on your inner healing. And this will give you sublime peace on your inside. Peace starts within you, within your heart. You have to make up your own mind. No one else can decide for you. Do you choose peace or war? Ask yourself how you treat yourself. Do you speak kind words about yourself? Do you think kind and loving thoughts about yourself? Do you feel love when you think about yourself? Do you love yourself? If you don't love yourself, now it is high time to start. And yes, there is always something to work with that needs help, that needs guidance within you. No one is perfect, but it does not give you an excuse not to love yourself. Love all of yourself, with all of your scars of life. Love all of you, even though you feel you are broken. Embrace all of you, the complete package. And do you know why? Because I love you exactly as you are. You are safe with me. I have walked beside you every day. I have felt your tears. I carried you when you were too tired to walk. I felt your loneliness at night, and I watched over you. I even put my wings around you. And I would do it all over again and again. You are never alone. Just, please, love yourself. Peace starts within. And then peace grows outwards. If everybody did this on this planet, what would you think would happen? Peace starts within in the sanctuary of your heart and in your home, wherever you live. There is always a choice between what is right to do and what is easy to do. Do you agree with me? The right thing to do is to choose love. The right thing to do is to choose peace. And the right thing to do for you is to love yourself and treat yourself with love all the way, and this means healing times are here. I love you. Michael. The 9 physical dimensions. Each physical object in the universe has properties, or measurable attributes which we call dimensions. 1 inch or 1 meter is a measurement of the dimension of space. 1 second is a measurement of the dimension of time. We are familiar with the idea of space and time being measurable dimensions, but what about the other dimensions in creation? Dimensions are attributes or properties of physical objects. For example, an object can be located in a certain place and is, like all of us, passing through time, but what other attributes make its creation possible? For example, what about the energies that make up the object's atoms? Big objects are made of small atoms, so let's look at the small and the big will look after itself. First, consider the framework of creation that makes all things possible. The Creator made the universe out of one ingredient, consciousness, so you can't leave consciousness off the list. In fact, all things are composed of consciousness, so what combination of thought and feeling makes an atom what it is? The universe was created by the one Creator employing 3 aspects of divine consciousness: thought, feeling, and motion. Then, in order to create the 9 physical dimensions, each of the original 3 aspects were further expanded into 3 sub-aspects. The resulting 9 physical dimensions can be seen in 3 groups of 3. The thought, energy, dimensions group. 1. Etheric, yang, energy, life energy, prana, or Chi. 2. Magnetic, yin, energy, the fabric of space, or the field. 3. Electric, physical, energy. While etheric energy is strange to materialistic science, it is known to many as vital life energy, Chi/Qi, or prana. Traditional Chinese medicine has used it to maintain the health of patients most effectively for several millennia. The field was originally called the luminiferous ether, a term that now causes confusion with an entirely different energy, etheric energy. The field is a subtle magnetic fluid, filling all space and intensifying around physical objects, causing the effect of gravity. Light energy is widely known to be electromagnetic. What isn't widely known is that, while it travels at light speed through free space, it has an additional energy component. Etheric energy surrounds each photon of light and energizes it to travel through space right up until it collides with a solid barrier. The impact strips away the etheric sheath, which carries right along, traveling like a ghost passing through a wall, leaving the physical remainder to travel its new path. The electromagnetic remainder is then capable of being seen as visible light by physical eyes. The feeling, spatial, dimensions group. 4. Space, or size, measured in 3 directions. 5. Feeling. As with all forms of consciousness, objects have feelings. 6. Location, where an object belongs. Notice that space is one of the 9 dimensions, one that has 3 sub-aspects, or 3 directions of measurement. Contrast this perspective to that of modern-day physics, which considers the total lineup of possible dimensions to be 3 space dimensions and 1 additional dimension of time. When you love, or at least actively like, a machine such as a car, it runs a whole lot more reliably than it would for someone who routinely yells at it. As another example of feeling, even in the densely material halls of mechanical engineering, miracles can be found. I once studied under a materials science professor who thought it highly entertaining to point out a seemingly inexplicable phenomenon. If you cut through a bar of steel, a microscope will reveal stress marks in the cut. But, if you first soak the steel in a liquid anesthetic, it will then produce no stress marks. Imagine that the energy of the anesthetic affects the steel bar, just like it would a human, and it avoids feeling the pain and stress of being cut. Location is the attribute that lets an object know where it belongs in the universe. In the future, when we have recorded the subtle signature tones of various locations, we will create teleportation vehicles which, when isolated from the magnetic fabric of space, can change their location energy signatures and then rematerialize at a new location. The motion dimensions group. 7. Structure of an atom as a chemical element. 8. Identity of a body, its unique signature tone. 9. Time, physical motion. Structure refers to the component energies of an atom as a chemical element, primarily the numbers of electrons, protons, and orbital layers of the atom. Your soul has a unique signature tone. Not just a frequency, but also a combination of elements of thought and feeling. Every energetic particle in the universe has its own unique signature tone, because infinite being created infinite variety. This is why you are a unique person, someone whose sole purpose is to contribute to the variety of life in the universe in your own special and unique way. Time, too, has 3 varieties: linear time, the clock on the wall type; experiential time, as in time flies or drags; and timelines, potential alternatives which your soul can explore in parallel to your central, active timeline. Source: rayoflight.com. The other videos are in the English video playlist. Help me spread the light. Click like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.